Hello, my name is Lindsay and welcome to my kitchen. Today I'm going to be showing you guys how to make Blok Czekoladowy, which is a block of chocolate made by the Polish people in the 1980s under communist rule when chocolate was not so widely available. So the first thing I did is gathered my ingredients. I have sugar, butter, cocoa powder, powdered milk and regular milk, and herbatniki, which is a sweet butter biscuit. The first thing we're gonna do is put about 7 ounces of butter into a pot along with a cup of white sugar and 4 tablespoons of cocoa powder, as well as some milk. Now the recipe I'm following called for a half cup of milk and 14 ounces of powdered milk, but since I was unable to get 14 ounces of powdered milk, I only got 9. We're gonna add an extra half cup of milk, of whole milk, to kind of substitute for that. Then what we're gonna do is just heat this up on the stove until the butter is melted and the sugar is dissolved. While that heats up, let's talk about this recipe that I'm following. This recipe I found on a blog called Cook in Polish, which is run by a woman named Alexandra. She lives in Poland with her 2 kids, and she enjoys looking through old Polish cookbooks and recreating these recipes. So this recipe, I really like what she did here, and I like how she kind of described it. She said it was a way for a treat in hard times of the communistic PRL, and that's what that was. The Polish People's Republic, which existed from 1952 until 1989, was characterized by a lot of food scarcities and shortages due to the one-party system and collectivization. I like this recipe because it's really simple and it uses really simple household ingredients. So this bar of chocolate was a way for Polish people to have a treat when they could not get chocolate. Even still, all of these items were rationed. A family would get about 500 grams of butter per month, 2 kilograms of sugar per month, 3 to 4 liters of milk per month, and their cocoa was also heavily rationed. It was very hard to come by, and most chocolate bars were completely unavailable in the area. We're also going to be using herbatniki, which is a Polish sweet butter biscuit. They're a common nostalgic treat now. They are plain, simple biscuits made from sugar, flour, and fat like butter. They're more widely various today, so I probably didn't get a super traditional one like they had back then because they were limited, of course. I got them at the Polish grocery store though, the Carpathia Polish Cuisine, and it was really cool to go there. Our next step in this process is going to be to let this mixture cool down completely. So while we do that, let's take a deeper dive into the Polish People's Republic. Poland was occupied at the beginning of World War II in 1939 by Germany and the Soviet Union. Poland was repressed heavily by both countries during the war, and there were many uprisings, but they were heavily suppressed by the Germans and the Soviets. At the Yalta Conference in 1945, the Western Allies made more concessions to Stalin, effectively allowing Stalin to keep all the territory that he had seized in 1939 when he invaded Poland. The Potsdam Conference that year also gave Poland some territory that had belonged to Germany. The Soviets then eliminated any opposition to them, and the Polish United Workers' Party emerged to rule on behalf of Moscow. The government is based on the Soviet model, leading to the adoption of the collectivization policy. This will lead to widespread shortages and scarcity. While rationing existed during that time, it did calm down a lot between the 1940s and the 1970s. Until it began to come back. In 1970, the Polish economy was on the verge of collapse. It relied solely on Western money to develop, and prices were kind of arbitrary, wages were arbitrary as well. So the economy was really on the verge. So in the 1970s, when shortages and scarcities came again, prices went up and people complained, but then they did the shopping. Then came the 1980s. When the shipyard strikes that spawned the Solidarity Revolution came in August of 1980. The workers included in their demand some kind of rationing system. While that system, initially, they only called for the rationing of meat, and that's what they got. But people started to think that the rations would come for other household items, and they flocked to stores to get these items. almost forcing the government to release cards for them. Cards were introduced for almost 60% of goods in grocery stores like butter, flour, cereals, rice, chocolate, alcohol, and even school supplies were rationed. Pencils, notebooks, all of that kind of stuff. There were rations on clothing too. After 1982, we did start to see a decline in the rationing, but it still existed until 1989, which was the end of communist Poland, when Solidarity won the first free election and came out from under the Soviet Union. All right, now that we've let this cool down, we're gonna go ahead and add this powdered milk. Now remember, I am making mine differently, so it might not turn out exactly right. The recipe then calls for these karbatniki to be crushed up and added into the mixture, so I'm gonna go ahead and crush them up and add them in. And now I'm just gonna pour these in here. Now that this is all put together, our next step is going to be to put it in a pan and put it in the fridge. Now my super large chocolate bar is in a pan and ready to go in the fridge for 2 to 3 hours. Okay, now we're back with my piece of chocolate. Let's see it. This is not good. This is not so good. This is not so good. It's really sticky. It's not good. And have chocolate. Okay. It's not very good. But I mean, I guess that makes sense. It was a struggle treat.
While I didn't particularly enjoy the process or the taste of Blok Czekoladowy, I really enjoyed learning about the treat itself. This block of chocolate was a way for Polish people to enjoy a treat, even during times of struggle. I think this recipe reminds us of what we take for granted, because most of us have never known the experience of food shortages and strict rationing as it happened in Poland in the 1980s. Overall, this was a very fun project, and I'm very glad to have learned from it. Thanks for watching!